this will be a great show. Stan got Jerry Mattox for a guest.
That's cool. I loved him on Leave It to Beaver.
No, man. Jerry Mathers was the Beaver. Jerry Mattox is a 6-time AMA dirt bike champion. Are you sure about that?
Today's guest in the studio is a true legend across land, water, and code, Jerry Mattox. He's a 6-time AMA national champion in vintage motocross, a former pro racer for Team Honda, and the 1995 U.S. national champion in stand-up jet ski racing, where he also finished second in the World Championships. Jerry's also the former frontman of the heavy metal band Nightwatch and a UNC graduate with degrees in computer science, math, and physics. He's built software, he's raced machines, and he's lived wide open for decades. So get ready for a fast-paced, story-packed ride with Mr. Jerry Mattox. And we are on. I'm Stan Arthur, and this is The Stan Show, as a lot of you have come to know it already. Even though a fledgling, that's a good word to say, a fledgling little podcast that started about 5 months ago. We have few subscribers, but today we're hoping to kick that up a notch, because with me today here in the studios, I turned my on-air sign there. With me here today in the studio is legendary 6-time AMA dirt bike champion, Mr. Jerry Mattox, and there he is right there. How you doing, Jerry?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me, Stan.
Thanks for being had. Well, I've been really looking forward to this ever since I moved here permanently about 2 years ago, and my good friend Ed Ryan said, "Hey, I know this guy Jerry Mattox, and he's told me all about your accolades and your championships and all that." And I said, Ed, someday you're going to build a studio for me, and I'm going to have Jerry Mattox in the studio. And that day is now.
Here we are.
We made it happen. So
that's awesome.
Now, Jerry, I know you have a huge fan base out there, and you've had an amazing life. Let's face it. You've had an amazing life. Okay. You not only the dirt bike championships and all that, and gosh, you started way back when you were a kid in like 1975, getting involved in the whole thing. But not only that, but you've got you did so many other cool things. I mean, you were a stand-up ski champion. What do they call that?
They call that jet skiing.
Jet skiing, right? But it's the stand-up kind.
Right.
Right, the stand-up kind. Like, yeah.
The hard ones.
Those, yeah, which I wouldn't even attempt it. But so you had that going for you. What you have you have championships in that.
I won a national championship in that, and then did real well. I finished second in the world.
Right. And you also had a career as a musician.
Strangely enough.
Yeah.
People don't remember that, but I did.
Well, you've got a huge fan base, and they probably don't know about your music career and your heavy metal band, Nightwatch, and your solo album and your music video and Headbangers Ball and all that, man, because they're going to learn about that today. Don't want to dwell too much on it, because I know the fans are here for the dirt bike info and find out who Jerry Mattox really is. Cool. But so I'm excited about it. I say let's just shoot the breeze for just a couple of minutes here, and then figure out where we're going to go from there. So what's life like right now? You just won a new championship, didn't you?
I did. I just returned from what's called the AMA Vintage Days National Motocross Championship, where there were over, conservatively 75,000 people there attending in all genres of vintage motorcycles. And of course, my domain in that is motocross. And in particular, I ride the 125 and the 200cc expert classes on a bike known Clunker. That's the following. It's really not me. I tell everybody I just steer. Clunker does all the work, and I just steer.
And Clunker is it's a 1974 Honda CR 125M Elsinore.
That is correct. Good job. Yes.
I can read, folks.
Very special bike.
I can read.
Very special bike, because when Honda invented that bike, it changed the world. It literally changed the world. And anybody who was a teenager in the 70s either had one or wanted one.
Yeah.
And so is my purpose in life in the last few years was to restore that Elsinore and bring it back to its glory as a racer. So many of these bikes, Stan, are being restored, but they're put in museums. And it's like taking a stallion and locking it in the barn.
Who wants to do that? What kind of twisted mind would do that?
Exactly. So, we built this bike. It earned the name Clunker in the early days, and our sponsors jumped on it and said, that is such a cool bike. We want to help fix this bike up. And here we are. So what I just came home from was in Mid-Ohio Sports Car Complex, which is a huge race facility near Columbus, Ohio, to where they host the AMA National Vintage Motocross Championship, to which I won the 200cc expert class this week for the third time. So,
fantastic.
So I'm now 3-time national AMA Vintage Motocross champion in that particular class. And my son, Ryder Mattox.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because what a cool thing that is. The whole father-son team thing that happened with you. Go ahead.
Well, it was weird because in 2022, when I started racing the vintage motocross, he was still off on the amateur motocross circuit and racing modern bikes, and he's been a fairly successful racer at that. And then it come time for him to make a decision whether he wanted to attempt at some type of advanced career in motocross, like going professional, or in my better assistance was, do we go to college? And so with the amount of talent that he had, which is a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, but it's a big jump from what we call college ball to pro ball in motocross. And I felt he'd be better served if he went to college. And so while he's in his first year of college, I'm off racing motorcycles again and into the vintage world, and won the my first ARMA national championship. Now, ARMA is different than the AMA in the fact that ARMA races a series across the country. So that means it might be 10 or 12 races spread across from California, New York, Texas, Florida.
What does that stand for?
American Motorcycle Racing Historic Association.
Oh, wow.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Don't make me do that twice.
They're not doing themselves any favors with that.
Well, I tend to agree, but they run a very, very nice circuit across the country, and you have to race all these races of various and to determine a national champion. So I kind of think of them as the premier vintage motocross series in the country right now. The AMA, which is the American Motorcycle Association, is a much, much, much larger organization in the fact that they handle all the amateur motocross in the world and all the professional motocross in the world. And they have this vintage national championship and the Daytona Supercross race that they do. And so with that said, it's kind of a one weekend affair. You go, you race, and you might be national champion with the AMA in one setting. And so that's kind of a cheap date for me. I drive up, I race, I come home, and I get to say, wow, I'm national champion. Okay. Nowhere near the effort as trying to win an ARMA national championship, but we did good. We got there, and back to my son racing.
Now, wait a minute. Your son, you appropriately named Ryder.
He's named Ryder because
I love that.
At the time of my wife, Tammy Mattox, and going through that phase where every new parents go through, like, what are we going to name this dumb kid? Right. And we went through all these thousands of dumb names, and somebody suggested, you should call him Ryder.
It works.
And the logic was, my wife Tammy is also a champion at racing motorcycles.
Get out of here.
Absolutely. I taught her to ride in our earliest relationships, and she's won several championships in both off-road racing and motocross racing in the women's classes. And so at the time of the pregnancy, we're both off on tour racing motorcycles. So needless to say, nice, seemed appropriate to name the kid Ryder.
Okay. All right.
So that's how that come about.
All right. So keep going with the father-son thing.
Well, so Ryder, Ryder's born at 4 years old. We've got him on a dirt bike, training him already.
Excellent.
And he raced his first race at 4, and he's never stopped racing. And he's just turned 21, and he's been racing for 17 years.
Are you serious?
No.
Because I've got a 4-year-old granddaughter. She can barely speak.
Yeah. We tell people that Ryder raced before he could talk.
Wow.
Because if he could have talked, he'd probably said, "Don't do this to me." But he's a great sport at it, and he's been really good at it, and he's had a good run. And it's been the absolute, I don't know how to say this without tearing up,
Oh, dear.
It's just the best father-son relationship you can have. You know, we never got into this sport to try and make money or be professionals at it, although we both have had very successful runs at this sport, but the entertainment value has been amazing. And so, you know, flash forward to today, he's finally big enough and old enough now that we can race together in the same class. Now, that's cool because most fathers, particularly me, are enough older than their son. They're usually pretty much aged out or timed out by the time their kid gets big enough to ride with them.
All right, but you did a competition together.
We did the entire ARMA National Championship Series together.
Wow.
In 2023. And we ended up tying for the national championship. Never been done in the history of
What a great story. I thought we were going to have a Dr. Phil moment here a second ago. But you recovered well.
Yeah. No, and so, you know, so it's I forgot who that comedian was on Saturday Night Live that said, baseball's been very good to me. I don't know if you've heard that guy. Motocross has been very good to me.
Baseball's been very, very good to me. That was Garrett Morris.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so motocross has been very good to me.
Yeah, I guess so.
But
man.
Yeah, so it's been fun. So we just came back from this race at Mid-Ohio to where he finished second place in the 125 class, and I won the 200cc class. Now, in the 125 class that he finished second in, I was right behind him in fifth place. And the sad part about this weekend was, as you know, how 2025 has been with the weather, just rain.
Crazy.
The rains came in. We were sitting on the starting gate to run our second race. And in motocross, you have to race two different races and combine scores, determine who the overall champion's going to be. And Ryder had finished second in the first race, and he had the opportunity to beat the winner in the second race and be national champion. So we're loading the gate. We're sitting on the starting line. Lightning starts popping everywhere. Thunder's going everywhere. And and because they should, the American Motorcycle Association, AMA, pulled us off the gate and said, go back to your vans, go to safety. It's too dangerous to be out here. And unfortunately, the storms never left, and they didn't cancel the event. They just had to call it where you are.
I see.
And so the best analogy I could give you, if you're watching a NASCAR race and you're 3/4 of the way into the race and it starts pouring the rain, they have to stop the race. Whoever happens to be in first place at that time is going to be crowned the winner.
Well,
and
you know, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So that's a damn shame.
It is. Well, it is. And so Ryder didn't get the opportunity to, regain his championship because he was also the incumbent national champion from last year, as I was too. So we were trying to recoup our, get it for one more year. So that's how that went down. So for me, I got lucky. I got to win the national championship and only do half the work.
Right.
And, but that as a racer, as a competitor, as a warrior, that's not how we like it. We want to take this thing to the 12th round if we can.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the other things you've done in life, but just briefly, because I know the fans are watching to hear Jerry talk all about his dirt bike adventures. And, but there's some fun stuff in here, man, and things that people should know. For instance, you graduated University of North Carolina with a couple of different degrees.
Yeah, my main degree was computer science. That's what I studied. And then because computer science was a fairly in-depth curriculum, all I had to do was take one extra class and I would get a degree, a minor in mathematics, and one additional class, I'd have a minor in physics. So it sounds really good on my resume when I say I have a degree in computer science, math, and physics. But the truth is I have a bachelor's in computer science, and the other ones are a little bit discounted. But
well, so it's coming to physics. You're not going to be working on anti-gravitic technology anytime soon, right?
No. I'm still trying to figure out gravity on a motorcycle. So
That's excellent. Yes, but anyway, so you got this great college degree, and then you went, but you were already into dirt biking by the time you were 14, 15.
Absolutely. And there's a killer backstory to that. I started racing when I was 15. And let me remind you, my son started racing at 4. So by today's standards, I started really late. Okay. Mm-hmm. But in 1970s, 14, 15, that's right on time. Okay. That's probably, we didn't have these little mini bikes like we did back then, or like they do now. We didn't have, kids just didn't start so young.
Right.
And so anyway, by the time I had turned 19, I've graduated my high school, and now I'm trying to go pro. And I was very serious about going professional. And my father was very serious about me going professional. But my father was also a very well-educated man who says, if you're going to go pro, you're still going to college.
Right.
It really doesn't matter to me because this motorcycle career will last you, what, 5, 6, 7 years? His exact words.
Little did he know.
His exact words was something like, it's going to take you about 5 years to break your neck. And then what are you going to do?
Oh,
right.
There is that.
Yeah. And so he negotiated my contracts with my sponsors and Team Honda in particular, and made my schedule work out where I could go to college and continue my pro career at the same time.
It's really interesting that you were able to get. I think, was it right out of college you joined Team Honda?
No, it was going into college.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
So that made it really odd and hard for me because I would be racing motorcycles on long weekends. So we were adjusting my schedule at college to be more of a Tuesday to Thursday curriculum than a Monday to Friday, because I'd be gone from Friday to Monday off on tour.
Yeah.
And so for that, my dad kind of worked with my counselors at college and negotiated all that for me. And of course, Honda was
How
happy.
cool.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But so what was the criteria for being able to join that Team Honda and get on board with that?
Well, you start out as an amateur, and like in any sport, you play high school ball, you play college ball, and then if you're good enough, you go pro. In motocross case, I started out in racing small bikes and then bigger bikes and then bigger bikes, and then you go through these classifications. And the way in motocross works, it's A class, B class, or C class. And C class is novice, B class is intermediate, A class is expert. And so by the time you get into the A class, like in any sport, the scouts start looking for you and they start seeing you. And if you impress them enough, you can that's how you obtain your sponsors to go pro. But to earn a pro license with, again, the American Motorcycle Association, you have to have won enough amateur races and built a resume of a certain statute to get an entry-level pro license. And so that's a big jump. That's college ball to pro ball, okay? And that big jump. So if you can jump over that gap and get that pro license, you're still not really a pro. A pro is one who has made that jump and then can actually go succeed at the professional level. Okay. And
by succeeding, we mean win championships.
Win championships is the goal.
Yeah.
But really, it's a very thin crowd. There's very few people can say they're truly professional motorcycle racers, even the ones that are professional. And unfortunately for me, I fall in that back half. I ran the entire Supercross series and I ran the entire outdoor AMA motocross series for many years in the early 80s. And I still just could not break into that elite group of people that were, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars. But more importantly to me, getting the accolades of it. So it was one of those careers for me that, man, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I traveled the world. I saw, a little kid from Bryson City, North Carolina, was riding in the back of a big truck going to motorcycle races.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't like that, right? I saw California when I was a junior in high school for the first time, and so
rocking.
That was fun for me. But my career was very good from a amateur standpoint and a semi-pro standpoint. It was a very successful career when it comes to that. But was I ever an elite pro motorcycle racer? Heck no.
No. Well, I don't want to get too far off base because I digress terribly during these things. I want to just for a second touch on your college degree and in computer science. You're a coder.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you're a coder. You write applications. You do the whole 9 yards. Anything remarkable there as far as your coding experience goes?
Well, for those in the cyber world that understand computer science, you have to understand I graduated in 1984. So let's think about what computers look like in 1984.
Sure.
Okay. And most of you kids watching this show are just going to be deer in the headlights right now. But, we're writing in operating systems that don't exist to this day.
Right.
We were coding before, about the time Apple came along, about the time IBM released their very first microcomputer PC.
Personal PC.
That's kind of my timing.
Computer, yeah.
I was not that guy that was so far out of date that I was into the mainframe programming, but boy, I caught the edge of it, just the very edge of it. And so we're programming in languages like Pascal, Fortran, COBOL, things like that, which are long gone now. And then, but I've never stopped programming. So you could imagine the evolution to today's standards where, yeah. So my big claim to fame was I wrote some algorithms back in the early days that's still being used in database applications today. But
think about what we're going through today. I mean, through AI, you don't even need to code anymore. It'll write the code for you. You can describe what you want and it'll write it for you.
Almost
crazy.
And as a professional programmer to this day, I use ChatGPT to help me out of problems from time to time.
Who doesn't?
And so, I'm not in this for the glory. I'm in this to get paid and get back to the motocross track, So,
right on.
ChatGPT can get me out of the house quicker. That's what I do. But I've had a very successful software company since 1984, and we've written software in the large corporate industry and have done well for that. We have clients all over the world and have had thousands over the years, and we've had to migrate our language. I tell people I've been fluent I'm probably up to about 16 or 17 languages now that I'm fluent in. Now, let me define. That's not French, Spanish.
I understand.
Okay? This is weirdo stuff that people would never understand if I called them all out anyway. But my current poison right now, I'm a Microsoft.NET Gold expert programmer. Cool. So for those that know that I'm programming in C# and SQL Server and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Very, very cool, man. Well, you're such a many-faceted dude, and something that's very near and dear to my heart, and something that you and I have in common, as we are both musicians.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, your fan base probably doesn't know to what degree you are musical, but you are not. You're not just a dabbler. You had some really fantastic experiences because of your. Well, let me just start this way. When did you learn to play guitar?
Well, it's funny that's a great question because.
Well, thank you. I thought of it myself.
Yeah, because I was a latecomer in the guitar world. Most great guitar virtuosos started playing when they were a kid. Yeah. So the funny story is I'm 25 years old. I'm racing pro motocross, and it's about the end of my time. Okay, I've had a good 5-6 year run running pro motocross, and the bones are starting to hurt, and I'm thinking of something to be more fun. So
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, but yeah. So I had two choices to be. I wanted to be a soap opera actor because I figured they get the chicks. They all, and so I wanted to be a soap opera actor. And
you're killing me now.
Yeah, that didn't work out. Hollywood and me and Hollywood don't get along too well. So I said, so the next best thing would be a heavy metal rock star. Now that does well.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter too much what you look like when you're doing that.
Exactly. And
lots of hair.
Yeah. So
were you part of the hair metal thing?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a little experience with that myself.
I bet you did. Yeah. It looks like you still got a good experience going on with it right now. But we'll show a photo of me in my
males in my family have been blessed with big heads of hair that they don't lose. I mean, but whatever. I keep it in a ponytail for my podcast to not freak anybody out. But.
So I did pretty good. I got hooked up with a band called Night Watch.
Now, did you found Night Watch?
I didn't. Night Watch found me. I did not. I was not excellent. One of the. But you could say I was one of the founding members. Yeah. But they found me, and we put it together with a bunch of local guys, and we played locally around.
Bryson City guys?
Absolutely.
Get the heck out of here.
Two Asheville guys and two Bryson City guys.
Where are they now, man? I tried to put together a band around here, and I can't find any quality players.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, but half of my band is gone. And it's sad, and I just lost my drummer a few days ago. So I'm still getting over that. But
hey, I play drums.
Yeah, I know. We could put a band back together, but
I'm in.
Yeah. So it was in the hair metal days. It was 1987.
Amen.
And everything from Metallica to Ozzy to Rat, Poison, all that, all the crazy bands like that. Right on. And I jumped in there and learned how to play guitar and was the lead guitar in this band, and we caught a little traction. Yeah. Got one little hit song going on the radio, playing in medium rotation around the world, for those that know what that means. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, record labels called, and we did our first record, which, by the way, vinyl. People remember that?
Sure.
Cassette
Absolutely.
tapes. Does anybody know what a cassette tape is? Yeah. My son's digging through the closet one day, and he pulls out a Night Watch cassette, and he's looking at it as if it's foreign from another planet. Yeah. He's like, what is this? That's music. Yeah. And he says, how does that work? So I'd explain cassette tapes to him. So it was in that era. And we ended up doing well. We toured up to about 1991 when heavy metal died, and boy, did it die!
Fast grunge
crash.
music destroyed it.
It did. You know, everybody talks about Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and how everybody loves Kurt Cobain. I hated that son of a bitch.
I wasn't a fan either.
Yeah, not because he couldn't sing or couldn't play or wasn't a good entertainer. He took my paycheck away from me in a bad way.
No kid, and mine too. And I'll tell you briefly how Kurt Cobain affected what I was doing. You know, I was part of a touring company called Young American Showcase. I did 12 nationwide, North American tours from 1977 up through 1990. I did 12 different tours, and I watched that company die a terrible death because we could no longer go into the school. We were going into high schools and playing these big assembly programs. We were playing we were playing rock and roll, man. It was heavy metal, everything else. Cool. Anything the kids wanted to hear, we would do it, as long as it wasn't like satanic or something like that. Yeah. We couldn't do that. So we didn't do a lot of AC/DC, I'll put it that way, or Ozzy. Well, we did some, but anyway. So yeah, the thing was hugely successful for about 20 years. And as soon as Nirvana came on the scene and changed everything, our receipts just plummeted after that, and eventually went out of business by 1992. But funny story about Kurt Cobain, one of our bands played Kurt Cobain's high school when he was still in high school. Wow. And this is interesting. You'll enjoy this. They played his high school, and he happened to be one of the kids in the school who was picked to be on the stage crew for the band to set up and break down. And he worked with the guitar player in the band at that time. And he said, "Oh, I'm a guitar player." And, you know, the whole thing, it had a great relation. Now, our shows were very upbeat and positive, and nothing like grunge music was. All right. So he got through the whole experience, and we played that show. I wasn't there for that, but that show was played in the gymnasium. And we would set up like an auditorium effect where we'd set up in front of the bleachers and play for the whole school that was set up. It was sitting in the bleachers. We'd be playing to the bleachers. All right. And we move on, and nobody ever thinks about that again until you watch Nirvana's first video. Smells Like Teen Spirit. And what is it? It's a band playing in the gymnasium in front of the bleachers to the entire school. I can
see the video right now. Cheerleaders bouncing around, weirdos in the bleachers.
So I have a feeling that he got the idea for that video from watching a Free Fair show. Yeah. We produced bands called Free Fair, Freedom Jam. That's awesome. The Edge and all that. But I did that for a long, long time. I hate to digress and talk about myself because I know I have a limited amount of time with you. But yeah, grunge destroyed that business. Yeah. Absolutely destroyed that business.
Yeah, you're talking about the religious aspect to metal and things like that. Our band kind of made a decision in the early days that we're going to kind of dodge that bullet. Right. We were just all about just loud, proud, chase some girls, party.
Well, I've seen
Sunset Strip kind of stuff.
I've seen the music video from that they played on Headbangers Ball. Yeah. Now was that Nightwatch, or was that during your solo?
Actually, that was in my solo project that I was blessed to go to.
Which would explain why you were on camera most of the time in that video.
Well, maybe.
Now, can we show that video to the folks?
Of course you can. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd love for you to.
All right. Well,
that was done by MTV, Headbangers Ball. Yeah. And the director and they sent a crew into Bryson City. So all of those scenes you see in this video are in Bryson City, North Carolina. I didn't have to go anywhere.
Now I'm going to take that video because it's a VHS quality thing. I'm going to take that. I'm going to enhance it for you and for the folks to make it look a lot better than it looks now.
Can you make me look better? Better looking maybe?
No. Yeah. But okay, so let's go. Let's talk about that for a second, because you then had a solo career as a musician.
I did. In 1999, I was goofing around in my basement, and in 1999, internet technology was not very mature, but it was trying to be. But digital music creation was very high tech at the time. We're now recording to hard drives. We're not recording on tape anymore. And so it was very easy for me to be a one-man band. So I went out and wrote 10 songs that were more like, I call it Harley rock. It's kind of biker rock, really.
I like it.
But it was also the way it was laid out and designed could work for movie scores. Because I've always been real close with my wife, Tammy Mattox, who's a Hollywood actress. We can talk about her someday. Yeah, I was thinking about these could be scores for various films. And so when I designed the record, I ended up playing all the parts on the record. And then
except drums.
And
did I mention I'm a drummer?
I did. You did. And
carry on.
Okay. And so so I take this digital platform of music and I upload it to at the time, now remember Spotify, YouTube Music, all the other greats, they hadn't been thought of yet.
Right.
This is 1999. It's
Right.
also
How about Napster?
LimeWire. Well,
I remember those.
okay. So what I do remember, and I'm gonna say it real fast, we'll get back on topic, was Napster was pissing off everybody at Metallica.
Oh yeah.
And Lars Ulrich, the drummer,
I remember
was
that.
not taking that crap. He did
I
not.
remember.
He did not accept the digital revolution well at all.
No, he did
Where
not.
I, on the other hand, embraced it. I embraced it. I uploaded all my music to this thing called MP4.com.
MP3.com.
MP3. Thank you.
I was a big part of that.
Sorry about that.
I was Michael Robinson.
Okay,
I was a big part of that.
So there was 400,000 bands on there, all uploading all this music, and it was just a wonderful place. And they would sell your records for you.
No kidding. I have in my drawer over there, I've got an MP3.com record that I put together with 4 of my original songs.
And so do I. And so with that said, I had that up and with this self-proclaimed, it was called Maniac Mattox, okay?
Yeah,
because they called me Maniac when I was racing motorcycles. I thought, okay, I'll just bring that.
That's got great musical cred to it.
It's pretty metal to be called Maniac,
Absolutely.
right? So I'd take and upload all these songs to that. Next thing you know, holy cow, I'm #1 on the charts of the heavy metal genre. Right?
Yeah.
And I held it for 17 days. Well, when you're #1 on MP3.com for 17 days, you start selling MP3 records.
MP3.com
like mad.
was huge. It was huge. They ended up getting Michael Robertson. He was the whole guy behind that. He was an LA guy and all that. And he ended up getting embroiled in massive lawsuits, which was the death of MP3.com.
Well, if you ever see him again, tell him I love him because he made me a ton of money on that platform. Yeah. He did. We were selling records worldwide, everywhere.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, MTV calls, and now I'm sitting at a back with the record labels, and next thing you know, records in the stores the old-fashioned way.
Right.
Unfortunately for me, I don't know if any of you out in the TV land have noticed, there are no record stores anymore.
No,
they don't exist. And this was the transition of that,
right?
Killing the record store.
All you can find now is like vintage shops, that sell vinyl.
But I'm talking about all the great record stores. Where, when you're a kid, you want to go buy a new CD or a record or whatever. You went to a record store in a mall or wherever.
Right,
they're all gone. Well,
yes, they are.
MP3.com, Spotify, others was the death of that platform.
Yes.
And so as MP3.com got destroyed, as you just explained.
Yeah.
But the other digital platforms are now taking out the record stores. I started seeing my music career start to dwindle again for some reason.
Well, music is dead.
And
music is absolutely dead.
Isn't it though? It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah. And now you've got fake bands. You're familiar with Rick Beato?
No, but it's probably just another person that throws some digital crap out there.
You got to watch Rick Beato on YouTube. The guy's amazing. He's a major studio owner down in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's a studio owner down in Atlanta. He's been doing videos for years and years and years, all about the history of music. And he's so good. He's so good. And he has done a lot lately about the destruction of music and about how this website called Suno, Suno, you can create entire digital bands and create a bio for a fake band and create a fake photo of a band, and you can put the whole entire band out there and with a whole album's worth of songs, and
it's not
and everybody's
real.
like, oh man, when are they going on tour? And it's completely AI. The songs are AI. The lyrics are AI. All you have to do is type in a description. Say, I want a band that looks like this, does this kind of music, and I want a song like this. I want a song like this. I want a song like this, and just make the consistent vocal for the la la la. Boom, done.
Yeah.
Done.
It's the 2025 version of what you and I used to know as the Archies.
Exactly.
Do you remember the Archies?
The Monkeys, man.
Well, no, the Monkeys were kind of a real band, but the Archies
were a cartoon.
They never existed.
No, of course not.
I didn't know that until a few years ago.
No.
I was hurt.
Yeah.
I like those guys. Veronica was a pretty cool girl.
Pretty hot.
And the Archies was a big deal in my teenage or whatever that was.
Yeah.
And I find out it was all just made up.
Yeah, all just made up. Hey, as long as we're talking about cartoons, are you in Camp Thelma or Camp? Oh shoot, what was her name? I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, you must be talking about Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Oh, Daphne for sure.
Daphne, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you Camp Daphne or Camp Thelma?
Oh, 100% Daphne.
It's amazing how many Thelma lovers there are out there. It's absolutely amazing.
My wife is no Thelma.
Have you ever seen? There's so much AI going, so many of these AI videos going on out there right now, where they'll take something like a Scooby Doo and the characters, and they'll turn them into real people, AI characters. You know, of course, with huge boobs. All of them have huge boobs, and it's just nuts. Absolutely nuts. I'm doing some of that myself. You saw the little video I made for the intro of this thing with my two characters. Alan the alien is Alan and Chester the Bigfoot, and I've done a whole series on that. I can make those so fast now, it's ridiculous. I can make them so fast.
Apparently, you and the rest of the free speaking world can, because I've been a bit addicted to all the Bigfoot videos that are coming out on my social media feeds.
Well, you see, like that. Like the video I made we can do them in 8-second chunks, but now you can do them back to back to back to make them consistent, so they all look like they're part of the same video. It's crazy. And each one of those iterations I put in the description, it comes up, cost me 10 cents. 10 cents. That's it.
That's amazing.
10 credits on Google Flow, Flow, which is kind of the filmmaker's AI thing. But man, I'll tell you, I'm having fun in my retirement. I really am. I had fun at my job because I was making videos all day long and all that. But man, in my retirement, we got this studio built, which is a full-blown recording studio. We have full bands in here. I've already had some local talent in here doing some stuff with me, having a lot of fun with it. But between that and the AI creation stuff and all that, man, I'm having a great time in retirement. Well, you've got a lot to look forward to, but I'm sure you don't work that much anyway, do you?
Oh yeah, I work a lot actually. I stay true to everything that I'm into. I want to close out what you just said about AI and all that. I want to remind all of our listeners and viewers in the world, and I'm saying this from a 40-something years of computer programming. This is coming from my darkest, most educated spot. Okay, AI is real, but it's not, and I want to explain this to you. Okay. AI is what I call damn good computer programming.
Yeah.
And a lot of our layman people in the world think of AI as magic, mystical, sorcery from another world.
Yeah.
You know? And though it feels that way, this is just what mankind has created. This didn't come from alien technology, okay?
No, of course not. No.
It's just good computer programming. And the reason why AI exists today is because the internet exists today. And we've written software that can scour through the thousands of millions of zillions of data that's now out there at our fingertips at the speed of light.
Absolutely.
It would be like a human being walking into the Smithsonian Institute and just absorbing everything that's in there in a second and walk right back out the door.
Amen.
And so
I know what you're talking about.
And so, I have a lot of people that come to me and want me to explain AI to them. And then the fastest way to me to just say it's just damn good computer programming.
Yeah.
And it's only getting better.
It's amazing how far we've come just in the last couple of years. I remember starting out just a couple of years ago with some of this generative AI stuff for video. And because I think we'd all been playing with all the image stuff, the still image stuff, and coming up with it and go, oh, that's so great. Yeah. Photography is dead now because we can imagine anything and it'll put it right out there in high quality. And then shortly coming up behind it was video. And I've been playing with that since it was new. And it used to suck. It doesn't suck anymore. No. It's absolutely amazing. In fact, you know who Tyler Perry is?
Of course.
You know Tyler Perry is. That dude was getting ready to build an entire motion picture studio of his own. He was going to build his own motion picture studio, and he got a look at what some of the AI has been like, and he canceled all his plans. He canceled it because films are going to be totally, completely AI within 5 years. That is, if we survive 2027, because apparently there's a lot of prophecy and predictions coming about 2027 when we reach general AGI or artificial general intelligence, which is like Skynet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember that. Well, Stan, as we segue out of the entertainment world and back into the racing world, I want you to, at some point, our viewers to take a look at my wife, Tammy Mattox. She is an actress who is catching major traction right now.
And pretty easy on the eyes.
Yeah,
too.
she is easy on the eyes. She's definitely what we'll call a Daphne, okay? Not a Thelma. Tammy is she booked a lead role in a new film coming out that's directed by Silas James Rowland, and it's going to release in October. It's called All That Is Evil, and it's your classic horror film with a wonderful backstory.
Yeah, sounds like a horror film.
And she's done real well with that. And you know, we won't spend a lot of time on her because you could do a whole show just on her. It'd be way more entertaining than me.
Maybe you could set that up.
I can make that happen. I know people. I'll have her people call your people. Okay. And but with that said, Clunker, my 74 CR 125 Elsinore, is also got a cameo role with yours truly riding the bike
in the new horror
movie.
All That Is Evil.
All That Is Evil coming out in October. So, you know, we're super excited.
Is there a trailer for that?
There is a trailer for that. There's both a trailer for the movie and then a Clunker trailer is also available. So maybe you can spin that up, you know, just showing my scene. And so, yeah.
Well, you're a stunt man.
No. Just by how I act and live, but not professionally.
Not in the
trained.
movie. In the movie, you're doing stunts, though, aren't you?
I'm just riding Clunker like I ride him every day, and I just happen to get killed by some entity. And I'm not going to give you more than that. You can watch the trailer and see.
Oh, I absolutely will. I'm a huge horror movie fan.
Okay, so.
I see pretty much everything that comes along.
Right. So you know, my life's a little complicated in the fact that you know, I don't really dabble in the music industry anymore, but I play every day. My guitar rig stays in my house, and every day I'll reach over and just run some lines and do some things with it. But, you know, raising a son in the motocross world and now into the college world, which he is also studying computer science and is halfway through his associate's degree in computer science now. And then a wife who's a actress who is she's all in, both feet, very deep into everything. And that's all she does. And so we have a studio in our home, and I do all of her reading with her lines and her recording her auditions that get sent off to the directors and the casting directors and a bit of her manager. And then, of course, she has her own she's represented by a professional agent, so I don't have to do a whole lot there.
Right on.
But yeah, so my life's a little complicated with all the various things going on.
Cool, man. I tell you, a life well lived and still plenty left over to go. So you're not exactly retired.
I am not retired. And if I were retired from my day job, look at all this other crap I've still got to do, right? Retirement is not something I see in the future.
I understand you've got quite a nice home here in Bryson City.
Well, I mean, it's a modest home, but I when I look at my lifestyle, it's super fantastic. I'm private. I can walk out into my yard and not see any neighbors. So, you know, for that and this time of day is fantastic. So
well, I tell you what, have to commend you for in regard to your attitude on life is that you remained in Bryson City. This is a town of 1,750 people, and we happen to have the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad right at the bottom of my hill here, going right through, which brings in hundreds of tourists every day during the season.
Absolutely.
And without that, this town probably would have dried up and blown away by now. But
yeah, maybe. But I saw Bryson City. You know, I've lived here. I'm not from here, Stan.
No.
No,
I thought you were. I thought you were from Bryson City.
I know, and but see, here's the trick. I've been here so long, nobody knows. So, okay, my family showed up from Memphis, Tennessee, in the 70s.
Okay,
and Bryson City was a much different place then.
Yes, it was.
And
I know because I've been coming here since I was 10 years old.
And that's kind of how we got here. We would visit the Smoky Mountains, and one day my dad said he'd had enough of Memphis, and after a few migrations back east, we ended up in Bryson City, and we never left. And my father was an icon in Bryson City for 1,000 years. He was Dr. John Mattox, who owned Super Swain Drug Center here in town.
Wow.
Any of your old school people will know exactly who they're talking about. And so him and all the old doctors and stuff, they had their thing. And they all flew airplanes. And they would fly right out of what we call Ferguson Field. That's what other people call Katua now. And
I know what you're talking about.
And that was our airport. Then we had Sauceman Field, which is the paved runway strip on top of it. So I grew up in an airplane flying around with my dad, and the day come for me to get a pilot's license. And my dad put the stop on. He says, "No, son, I won't ride your motorcycle, and you're not flying my airplane." And,
I get it. I totally get it.
And he said, "You're too crazy for this." He said, and he told me this little riddle. He said, "There's old pilots and there's bold pilots, but there's no old, bold pilots."
I get it.
And for that, you're staying on the ground. And so the only time I really fly any airplanes is on Clunker.
You actually listened to him.
I did.
That's
I did.
great.
And, you know,
But
Well, your dad's no slouch, man.
No.
He very, very educated and accomplished man.
yeah, I grew up with a great family. I don't have any stories to tell you how I was abused as a child and poor me, and I didn't get to do this and I didn't get to do that. I was gifted with a family that believed in me and supported me. And funny side of that support though was when I was finishing up my pro motocross career, I went to my mom, who was your typical leave it to Beaver mom, Jew Cleaver. Okay. And, worried to death about me racing motorcycles. Worry. Cause you're going to get hurt. And I did get hurt several times, but in this particular case, she's worried about getting hurt. And I said, Mom, I'm about to end my motorcycle career and I'm going to do something that's a lot safer. And she goes, what would you do, Jerry? And I said, well, I'm going to be an electric guitar player in a heavy metal band. And she goes, well, that sounds nice. That sounds like that's a lot safer than motocross. You do that. You practice hard and you be the best heavy metal guitar player you can.
Yeah.
About 5 years on tour, she's like, Jerry, can you go back to racing damn motorcycles? Because, I don't want to downplay heavy metal, but my God, it was way more dangerous than racing a motorcycle in 1987 Sunset Strip in Hollywood, playing Troubadour, the whiskey, the running around the country on a tour bus with 4 other guys. I mean, it made motocross look like cheesecake,
Well, sure. LA's full of just the phoniest people who ever lived. It's
But I was young and it was fun and it was crazy, and so with that said, it was a great time in my life. But when I got out of the music business and kind of, went back to racing again, I went back to racing motorcycles again, and I've never stopped ever since. Right. Took a little detour through jet skiing though.
Yes, I want you to talk about the jet ski thing. I mean, I don't want to put your dirt bike fans off base too much, but this is something you actually did.
Yeah, I did.
And you go ahead, talk about it.
Well, it's pretty simple. I had a boathouse out on Lake Fontana, and I was enjoying a Sunday afternoon, just laying around working on my tan, when one of my good friends rode up on a stand-up jet ski, and I found it very, very interesting. And I said, do they ever race those things? He goes, yeah, but you got to be really good to race these things. They're hard enough to ride.
Challenge accepted.
And so it was just a few days later, I had one. It started practicing. And man, I sucked. I was so bad. And I was just about to give up. And I thought, I need a trainer. I'll hire a trainer. And so again, back to Los Angeles, I found a trainer in SoCal, and he came out to North Carolina. He worked with me for a while, and then I went out to his place, worked for a while, and 2 or 3 years later, we're off on the tour racing. And so, I ended up winning the national championship in the United States, and then progressed on to the world champions, to the world finals, which on this particular year, which is 1995, by the way, the world championships was held in the United States at a city in Arizona called Lake Havasu. And anybody in the jet ski world knows about Lake Havasu, Arizona, and the world finals. And in 1995, man, that was just the peak of jet ski racing. You know, 100,000 fans around that lake enjoying this big race. And so the world finals were being hosted there that particular year. And I went out and had trained for years for this race and really put the effort in. To get to Lake Havasu, to qualify, you have to race all over the country and be ranked into the top 24 in the country.
Wow.
And then they take that 24 to Lake Havasu and they run qualifiers, and you're there, and they cut you to the top 12. So it's a 50% cut the second you get there. Okay. And so in my qualifier, which you can roll some video on that, I won the qualifier. So I went out and was not going to be denied getting into this main event. So I went out and I won my first qualifier and did real well, obviously, and come back to the main event. And when they said go on the main event, I got a little bit of a bad start, but I hustled, and the race was, I think it was like 20 minutes or so long, which is a long time to be riding a jet ski, by the way. The physical fitness in that is very, very tough.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And so nearing the last lap, I had made my way into second place, and I could see the runner, or the winner, or the leader up in front of me. And I ran him down at the finish line. And when I crossed the finish line, I was literally 2 feet behind him. My bow of my boat was at the midpoint of his boat. And,
wow.
And I lost the race. Now, don't get me wrong. I was super stoked. I just finished second in the world, and that was great. But to lose a race by 2 feet, and you're somebody like me who's just builds your life around racing. Oh, that was just a slap in the face, But it was a good run on the jet skis. I handed my jet ski to my mechanic at the time, and I said, I'm done, and I've never been back.
Is that right? So
Yeah.
you didn't keep up with it. You haven't been riding.
I don't know. I'll never get on another jet ski.
That's pretty.
No.
That's pretty final.
No, I just could care less. I really care. Now, I'm not saying I haven't been out to Fontana and rode a jet ski since 1995. I have, okay?
Okay.
But I have, every time I get on one and ride one for pleasure, it absolutely reminds me 100% of why I will never go race jet skis again. It's just, it's a sport. It was wonderful at the time for me. It was a big thing. It was a big deal, and I loved it, and I did it. But, got the T-shirt, and I'm over it.
Got the T-shirt. I can imagine it's very physically demanding.
It is. The stand-up kinds are, and they hurt your back really bad, and they're just. It's a sport that requires 100% of your involvement. You can't just kind of halfway go into it if you're going to go to World Championship.
I get now at the same time, kind of circling back to your dirt bike career. That's got to be very physically demanding. I mean, there's so much jarring and shaking and bumping it. It's
funny. It's funny you say that because in the 1970s, when motocross was more of a European sport than an American sport, and of course, as such as it always is, California brought motocross to America. And when we started racing motorcycles, at the time, oddly enough, soccer was considered the most physically demanding sport in the world, which I can see why it's tiring. But soccer is not even close to the world's most physically demanding sport in the world in terms of just, you're probably not going to die playing soccer. Okay.
Probably not.
And unless you do stroke out from running so much, which is a real high possibility. If you're not. But there started being this debate come along about what was the most physically demanding sport in the world. And motocross finally took over in the late 70s because of they measured the heart rates of the players and the racers, and they measured all the different dynamics of what could happen here and what could happen there. And so now, I don't know if it still holds true to this very day, but to be a professional motocross racer is got to be top 2 or 3 most physically demanding sports anybody can do. And it's one of the most dangerous things for sure anybody can do.
Yeah, no kidding.
It really is. And the sport has not gotten better in that sense. It's only gotten worse. And so for that,
I want to talk about that a little bit. I don't want to interrupt you.
Sure, no, go ahead.
But I want to talk about that a little bit. How has the sport changed between, let's say, 1970 and now? What are the biggest differences now?
Well, if you want to look at it from technical evolution, the bikes today are 1,000 times faster. The tracks are 1,000 times harder. Everything is just evolved to a point where it's almost a circus act on the track. It would remind you of Cirque du Soleil or a trapeze act because these kids are flying these motorcycles so high in the sky and so far. I used to laugh about Evel Knievel because they'd make a big deal because Evel Knievel could jump like 30 buses or something like that.
Right.
And not taking any respect away from Evel Knievel. He was a bad dude, okay? But these kids today would do an Evel Knievel jump on a mini bike, and they would do it again and again and again. They wouldn't do it once and say, okay, I lived. I'm not doing this again for another month. They just turn around and hit the same jump again. Over and over. It's unbelievable. And so with that said, the sport has become inherently way more dangerous because the tracks have technically evolved and the bikes evolved. Now, the race promoters of the world have added a new ingredient called money and greed. And the money and greed coming into the sport because now it's a big time sport. In the 70s, you might have won a pack of cigarettes and a cold beer at the end of the day. Now there's millions of dollars on the line. These kids that are racing for national championships in the professional world, which is not me, by the way. I'm in the vintage motocross world, which is like 5 steps below amateur world. Okay. But in the professional world, you've got, little Johnny who's 17, 18 years old trying to hit a 6-figure, 7-figure income. And he's putting his life in his hands to do it. Wow. And it's not just 1 or 2, it's hundreds of them trying to do it. And so with that said, the tracks are, they do their best to make them safe, but it's like trying to make a tornado safe. How do you do that? And so for that, the sport has become very expensive and very scary and very dangerous. And that's kind of the nice segue back to reason why I'm racing vintage motocross is because in 2025, I can go back to 1975 and experience motocross in its grassroots days and ride a bike that is not so fast. The tracks are not so bad. They're still fast and bad. And, we got hurt in the 70s the same as we do now, but just not near as often and maybe near as bad.
Right.
But so So the big takeaway or the big difference is the evolution has made the sport incredibly more expensive, incredibly more dangerous, and in my opinion, incredibly less fun. And fun is what this is really all about in life.
Makes complete
You know,
sense.
and so
Yep.
that's why you find me out on the vintage tour right now.
That's yeah, that all makes complete sense. I mean, back when I was in high school, I had my friends who were dirt bike riders, and they coaxed me to go out to Weeden Island and make a movie on 8mm camera of them doing their stunts on their dirt bikes and all that. And it was all about the fun back then. It really was. I imagine that in today's world, in the what you're talking about, the top of the top, that it's probably very difficult to get sponsorships, which you must have. You've got to have that because nobody's paying out of pocket for all that stuff, right? And it's got to be a very high pressure, high intensity emotional thing.
It is. And by way of comparison, if you wanted to compare popular sports, if you take pro NFL football, for example, to be a pro football player is a major feat and a major accomplishment.
Sure.
Okay. And because when you go pro with the NFL, you really are a real pro. Now, if you remember earlier in the show, I said you can go pro in motocross and not really be a professional. Okay. But to go pro in the NFL and you never play a game, you sit on the bench the whole time waiting your turn, you have a very nice plush lifestyle coming to you.
Certainly.
Okay?
Certainly.
In motocross, it's polar opposite. You go pro, if you're not finishing literally top 20, you're not making any money. You're spending money. And if you do become an elite rider, which I'll say a top 10 rider, you're making good money, but you're not making the money that the NFL bench warmer's making.
Right.
If you want to make, a top quarterback money in motocross, you better be top 3. You better be in that top 3. And your monies does not come from salary. It comes from endorsements. And so, yeah, they get good salary, but it's their endorsements, it's their sponsors, it's the team that they race for that's throwing out the big cash. The race promoters are not throwing out the big cash, and they could be. And so, without getting into a whole conspiracy theory on motocross racing, the fact is these kids are way underpaid. And I'm going to leave it at that. They're way underpaid. There's tens of millions of dollars out there to be paid to these kids. And these kids are out here risking their lives, literally. And they are Cirque du Soleil without a net. They really are. And so for that, at my age, at my skill level, I should say at my lack of skill level, I'm just hanging around vintage motocross and pretending like it's 1978 again and having a great time doing it. And my son, who is obviously a young man who had the opportunity to race motocross for 17 years in the modern world and has been given every chance in the world to go pro. If he had the skills, he could go pro and do that. When we got to that fork in the road and we looked and analyzed the sport in his class alone, this is when he's at the time 18 years old. 3 of his comrades died that year racing motorcycles.
Man.
And now as a father, I'm looking at this and going, how am I going to continue my kid in a sport where I just saw 3 other fathers lose their son. Yeah. And we witnessed it. It wasn't like it happened in California and we just heard about it. We were there, And so when you feel that, I was super stoked to get my kid into computer science college, but now I'm super stoked to get him back into the sport, back into vintage, where he is reliving my childhood. In a weird way, he's living vicariously through me because he gets to go out on the track and see how it really should be. And modern motocross should definitely be more like vintage motocross because we're all having a blast. We're all having a great time. Rarely does anybody get hurt beyond the normal scratches, bumps, bruises. Maybe you break a bone here and there, but we're certainly not dying, And so,
man, I'd say I really appreciate that about you. I mean, that you're a good man. I mean, we've heard so many horror stories about talented young people with parents that just are all about throwing them into the worst possible situations. And it's all about the money.
I got to tell you, from T-ball to pro ball, it happens in every sport.
Yeah.
But it does not happen near as horrifying as it does in the motocross community. And when you've seen a grown man yelling at his 5-year-old son to go faster on a bike that will already go 50 miles an hour, a 5-year-old on a 50 mile-per-hour dirt bike, jumping major jumps, and Daddy's out there yelling at little Johnny as if he's performing poorly, and Daddy's never ridden a motorcycle in his entire life.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, let that be a lesson to all you out there.
Yeah, I mean, it annoyed me. I was that guy. I'm not going to lie. I was that guy that pushed my son to best, but I also knew when to stop.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the important thing.
Right? and I knew how to try to keep it fun for him.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I never asked my son to do anything on a dirt bike that I wouldn't go out and show him how to do it. Literally get on the bike and go perform that exact same act for him and give him examples of that. And so in the modern world, there's 1,000 motocross camps all over the world now where daddies are subcontracting or farming out the training to these motocross camps. Now, granted, the motocross camps have skill set. They have great riders, great trainers, very skilled people to do this. But could you imagine your 8-year-old moving out of your house and living at a motocross camp to become a pro motocrosser, where if you don't make top 10, you're probably not even going to make a really good living?
Yeah.
And it's just a brutal sport. I'm not a big fan of motocross, despite my heritage.
I understand. I totally get it. I would never have, even though my son is a player, drummer like me and all that, I would never have recommended him. I was so blessed to be able to get into that Young American Showcase thing where I had a mentor who taught me how to be a man, a real man, and not, some rock and roll glitz bullshit, right? I mean, I had the greatest, bestest, because my father, nothing happened in there. Nothing happened in there. But so the man who I told you about recently passed away, and who we're all going to go celebrate his life this weekend down in St. Petersburg, Florida, he was a true mentor. And he set me on a path for life that he's absolutely responsible for who I am today. That's great. Because I was not headed that way.
Well, I'm not sure anyone else would have been. To your point, though, Tammy, my wife, again, I asked her one day, we were talking the acting business or something, and Ryder's name came up, and she was probably, she was probably talking to me about how I'm trying to influence him to be a pro motorcycle rider and all this stuff, and like any good mother, she's thinking that might not be the best route for him. Okay. There's probably a better route for him. And dumbass me says, I know, why don't you take over and make him an actor? And she goes, are you stupid? I don't know if I need to explain that to our viewers, but she was real quick to say, hell no, get him a real job.
Yeah, no, I can dig it. Hey, listen, you drove up a really cool van when you arrived here at Mountain View Recording.
That's called the Clunker van.
Yeah. Did you put Clunker right up in the van?
Clunker's inside the van, of course.
Oh, right now?
Oh, all the time.
Oh,
that's where he lives.
I'd love to go down and take a look at that thing and show the folks around. Yes.
Absolutely.
So let's do that.
We're glad to.
So this is the beast. This is what we call the Clunker van.
Yeah. Well, give me a tour, man. I want to see how.
Well, it's basically a 2008 Dodge Sprinter van on a Mercedes chassis.
Yep. Oh, look, you got the Clunker edition.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's the Clunker edition, as you can see. And
awesome.
It started life out as just a used white 2008 Sprinter.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we're winning some races. We started getting some sponsors. The whole Clunker thing, some sponsors come on, and, Clunkers catching traction around the world. So we created all the graphics, created the logos and whatnot, and went to the sponsors, and collectively we put the wrap on the van.
Yeah.
And
I can see you got all your endorsements here.
We do have all our endorsements. And
well, this is my favorite one right here. Get it.
Oh yeah.
Come on up close here. This is my favorite one right there.
So there's a story. The story behind this is really amazing. We were at a race in Alabama.
Yeah.
And where there was a Buc-ee's just literally right down the street. And we're at a place called Barber's Raceway. And my son went as a joke, down to Buc-ee's.
Yep.
And bought one of those one-piece Buc-ee's pajamas.
Oh, sure.
So you put the whole thing on, you look like that dumb Beaver, right?
Yeah, right.
Tail back here,
Yep.
right? He doesn't tell me. He goes to the starting line with this Buc-ee's outfit.
Oh, wonderful.
And now here's all the top 125 riders on the line, trying to be serious.
Yep.
And here comes my son, rolling right up, beaver tail flopping, ears sticking up, helmet underneath it, right? He's got all these race gear underneath, right? Goes out. goes out there and just wears us out and wins. So being
So he's got a personality as well.
oh, huge. But being an entrepreneur, I'm thinking, you know, Buc-ee's would appreciate that.
Yeah,
So I write up a nice letter.
Yeah,
I send him the video clip of him winning.
yeah.
Now I got a Buc-ee's gas card.
Wow.
And they reload
Oh,
that
nice.
gas card for me on periodic table, and Buc-ee's pays for my fuel in this baby as long as I'm racing.
You got Clunker in here?
I do.
Excellent. Let's
take him out.
Excellent. Let's do it.
This is the real star of the show.
Oh yeah.
And coming straight from a race, it might have a little dirt on it. But I'll set it right
Even better.
now.
So that's Clunker.
This is Clunker.
Oh man. Oh, what a cool thing that is.
Isn't that something? Okay, so Clunker is a 1974 CR125
Yep.
that has been modified to suit my riding style. Got some very serious hop-up parts on it and some things that makes it go faster and handle better and just do generally better.
Yep.
But outside
Sorry
of that,
about the dogs.
no worries, I love that. But outside of that, just a classic Honda CR125. And, you know, when this bike was released in 1974, it literally changed the world. It did. The Japanese people had not really entered the market yet of motocross. This was one of their first entries.
Ah.
And Honda spared no expense to bring it to us. And it just made for everything. But anyway, this is just an awesome bike. And the class that it races in is against other bikes that are just like it. And back in the 70s, the starting gates were just full of these things. And today, it's still pretty much the same.
Wow.
I'm not the only Elsinore owner in the world.
Amazing.
When you look on the start line, these things.
Amazing.
Yamaha makes a great product, so does Kawasaki, so does Suzuki.
Yep.
But on this particular year model, Honda was dominant in those days. So,
kidding.
so that's the experience. We call it Clunker only because in the early days, it was kind of a piece of junk. It was built with used parts and things we could find, and it fell apart a lot. And and because of that, it earned the name Clunker. And if you didn't notice the graphics, a lot of people they don't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
But if you look at the graphic and you look at the bike, you start to notice it's falling apart.
Yeah.
The forks are broken off. The handlebars have come off. The chain and sprockets, the crankshaft, things are flying off of this
I
motorcycle.
just realized that's awesome.
People, professional motorcycle racers to this day
Yeah.
will come back and go, I've seen this van for 2 years and I'm just now noticing
Yeah.
Clunker is falling apart. Hence the name Clunker.
That's awesome. That's great. All right. Well, thanks for showing me around.
Man, no,
Fantastic.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, great. Jerry, you are just, we're talking about multiple championships in your career. And we're talking about the whole vintage dirt bike thing now.
Yes, sir.
There's so much to that. It's been such a long and varied and intense career for you. What does it all mean to you, really? What does it all mean?
So it's not that it's been such a long journey. You know, I actually only got into vintage motocross in 2022. It's been intense though for the last going on 4 years now. The intensity of the amount of racing, we have raced all over this country twice, 3 times, and by we I mean Ryder and myself, and you know we've earned. Together, we have earned 9 national championships. I know it seems odd, but how do you do that? You know, well, you race a whole lot and you stay intense a whole lot, and we train hard and we push hard and we do that. But you know, the meaning of it to me is the reason why I wanted to do it, and the reason why I ride a 74 CR125 is simply because back in 1974, as barely a teenager, that was my dream. That's what I wanted to do, and that takes me back to the happiest time of my life. I think everybody wants to go back and relive their childhood if they could, or at least that period of their life that they felt was the most comfortable part of their life. And for me, that's kind of where it was, you know, living around just on a dirt bike, running through the woods, couldn't ride for crap, you know, just when it was fun, you know? And so, in 2022, you know, Ryder was out of high school and off to college, and I wanted to do some vintage racing, and I had friends that had been pulling me into the sport. And so when I finally got into the sport, they were asking me what I wanted to ride. And I said, well, you know, I want to ride an old CR125 because that was my first real race bike as a kid. And so we went on search to build one, and that's where Clunker came about. And so when Clunker came about and I started racing that, my very first year, I was really intense, man. I was like competitive as heck. I just was trying so hard and training so hard. And I did. I ultimately won my first ARMA national championship in the final round was in Oklahoma City. And so I did great. So I come back for the second year, and that's when I brought Ryder back with me. And I was showing him how much fun this sport can be, and he's like, "Oh, Dad, it's just a bunch of old guys. I don't want to do that," and he learned real quick. It's not just a bunch of old guys. Vintage motocross is not, it's old bikes by definition.
Right.
But I have this funny saying. I tell people I have a 16-year-old on my left and I have a 60-year-old on my right, and they both haul ass. Okay. And Ryder, typical pretentious little punk kid, he's like, just a bunch of old guys, blah, blah, blah. So we took him out to the track for the first time. He couldn't keep up with us. He couldn't figure out the motorcycle because, all the new motorcycles, they're kind of like driving a nice, brand new, wonderful vehicle. This is like going back in time, driving an old Z28 Camaro with the 3 on the tree gearbox on it, And I don't know if anybody will get that 3 on the tree reference, but
I did.
But when he finally figured it out, he says, "Oh my God, this is just exactly like modern motocross. It's it's just so much more fun, and the tracks are better. We can really race each other." And then when he got on the track with me and started kicking my ass around a little bit, he thought that was entertaining.
I bet.
And so we go on and we ultimately, as mentioned earlier, we tie for the national championship. So that was his first and my second national championship. And then we go into the 24 season. Oh, and then we went to the AMA series that year, and he won the 125 class. I won the 200 class. So now we're up to 4 championships, and he's like 1 year and I'm 2 years in. And that just kind of evolved over the last couple of years. We've been kind of winning the same championship over and over and over, kind of like an undefeated season, so to speak. And so now we've amassed 9 national championships, and 5 of them are ARMA, 4 of them are AMA, I believe. And so it's been a really good run. It's been a really fun ride, and I don't know how much further into the future. I don't want to sound like the old jet ski stuff and say I've got the T-shirt and I don't really want to do it anymore. Yeah. I could race vintage motocross into the sunset, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
And there are some older guys that are doing exactly that. Just going to race it into the sunset. But so that's where I stand today. I'm still in the middle of the 25 season. I still have ARMA National Championship to try and accomplish. And
when's that going to happen?
Well, it happens throughout the year because that's the series that goes for all over the country.
So you're constantly heading out and coming home and heading out and coming
Pennsylvania's
home?
next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all on the road.
All on the road.
Yeah.
That's the clunker van that we're talking about, and the bikes and stuff.
One of the last questions I would have for you is, what's next? What's immediately coming up for you?
I think I'm going to rekindle that soap opera career.
on.
I've got ends into Hollywood now through Tammy.
Are you serious?
No.
No. You're killing me now.
It'd be awesome. Remember Rick Springfield?
Oh, absolutely.
That's who I wanted to be. He was a guitar player. He was a good singer, and he was a damn good soap opera guy.
Yeah.
So
Jesse's Girl, man.
Jesse's Girl.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
But no, I think
these soap operas even exist anymore? I haven't watched network television in about 20 years.
Well, I think that's the real question. Does network television still exist anymore?
Yeah. Man.
But I would like to take a minute just to thank the people. Well,
that was, me, what? That was my next question.
Oh, okay.
And just simply, who do you want to thank for it all?
Well, I have a series of sponsors that they know who they are. I want to thank all of them, in no particular order. A guy named Butch Sondergroff of Butch's Vintage Cycles has been my engine builder and my main comrade from day one. In the corporate world, I've got AMSOIL helping pay the bills and give us all the things that we need. And I have a guy up in New York that makes our stands for our bikes named Gordon McCaffer, and he has helped me tremendously. And just the list goes on and on. There's Dan Gray at ReMX, who supplies me with hard to source parts. These bikes you just don't run down to the Honda dealership and buy parts for these bikes. You got to get through that, And I have another man named Paul Parkinson of Motorcycle Replicated Parts who manufactures parts. He embraced the 3D printing a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
And so now when we have a special part we need, we say, "Hey, Paul, make this for us." And we send him a good part. He scans it. And next thing you know, AI prints us out a new part, and off we go. Then I have all the other sponsors where I practice at my motocross track is JJ Rails Motocross Park in Dillsboro, North Carolina, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have people that do my graphics called MXG Graphics that do that. And Oleans does my suspension. Another guy named Steve Litz builds parts for me in Bluntville, Tennessee. And it goes on and on and on. And I'm sure I have left out some of the smaller sponsors, but I say thank you to all of them. They're not going to die if they don't get mentioned on here because I have an imprint on everything, including the van, the clothes, all my social media. It's all there. So they know who
it's all branded.
It's all branded. Yeah. And it's the Clunker brand. And the quick story behind Clunker brand was really funny. Sam, was when we first started, we didn't have, we had 0 sponsors. There was just me and Clunker, and I'm building this bike and working it out. And one day a friend of mine, or a potential sponsor, I should say, asked me, Jerry, what are you going to do about sponsors? I said, I don't need any sponsors. I don't need sponsors. I said, but Clunker does. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I can pay for my entry fees. I can put gas in the van. I can get there, but damn, these motorcycle parts are hard to find and hard to get. I need a sponsor that can source these parts to me. And that kind of parlayed into this, Stan, if you want to raise money, get a little puppy and go stand in the Ingles parking lot and ask money for the puppy. The puppy's hungry. The puppy needs to be fed. I don't need your money. I'm okay. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. But little Clunker needs your help. Holy shit, they come running from miles away.
Little Clunker.
Poor little Clunker. So, so now as a marketing expert, we're all like, oh, poor Clunker. Needs some tires.
You're
Clunker.
You're like Sally Struthers standing next to the starving child.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Nobody remembers Sally. I'm way too old.
Yeah. So it's funny, though, because, we didn't really evilly market it that way. It organically just happened that people wanted to jump on the Clunker train and be a part, because our backstory
jump on the Clunker train.
Yeah. The backstory was we were restoring this Elsinore to go back and be the great champion that it was for the day. And that's why I tell people, I did not do this, Stan. I just steer. The bike does it all. It has its own entity, its own personality, its own way of thinking. And I'm not being facetious. It does. It's a weirdo bike, and you just have to understand it. And I just steer that baby to championships. And that's it.
That's very humble of you. I'm sure there's a lot of skill involved.
Well,
there.
I don't know. But last and finally,
the fans.
Oh my gosh.
Talk to the fans for a minute.
Well, it's real simple. I just want to say thank you to all of you, because it came on in such a storm, and I get such nice compliments from you. I get so many nice things. They say the nicest things about me on social media, and I'm like, do they really know who I am? And that's why I keep the heavy metal thing hush hush, maybe. But no, the fans are just awesome. They have embraced our racing. They've embraced everything we've done. They come up to me at the track and they support me in everything they do. And it's just, it goes on and on. There's not enough thank yous to thank the support and followers. One of the things that I think I have done to help earn the fan base and the trust of the fan base is, in our racing program, there might be 30 of us on the starting line. And of that 30, me and my mechanic, Butch, that I had mentioned earlier, have probably built the engines for half that class.
Wow.
And they constantly ask, like, why would you do that? Why would you build engines for your competition? They could beat you. And they do beat us often.
Yep.
Because it's not about being the champion. It's really not. If you're going to be champion, you're going to earn that anyway. It's coming or it's not. And the only control you have about that is just train hard, practice hard, go ride hard, and try and win the best you can.
Yep.
But if you don't, look where we are. We're reliving a childhood, or we're introducing our childhood to our children.
Yep.
Because our children of today do not have the same childhood that we had in the 70s. They don't. They don't know. And they will, for many families, they'll never know. My son Ryder is getting to experience exactly what I experienced. And he sees the light now. He says, wow, Dad, it was a better time. But you sons of bitches still didn't have Xbox back then. Thank you to the fans.
Don't get me started. I've never been a gamer. I think
No.
I think my last gaming system was an Atari 5200, and I gave it up. After
Yeah,
that.
I had a Commodore 64, and that was where it ended for me. There you go. Now we've aged ourselves, we've dated ourselves,
Yep.
but back to the fans and back to the point was, I have made the absolute best friends in this sport. And going back to the beginning of time, in motocross, I have made the very best friends. Very few enemies come from the sport with me, and we all are comrades. And I think back of when the 70s and the early 80s, particularly when we were trying hard, when we were all trying to go pro, there's some guys that I could drop names on that we hated each other. Oh my God. We probably took our anger home with us because it was just we were just young and dumb and testosterone driven individual males, back when men were men, we fight like dogs,
At least you had testosterone.
Yeah, we
back
did,
then. It's a little different.
If
now.
you said something wrong in the parking lot, you got the crap knocked out of you, Those same guys, flash forward to today, are my absolute best friends. They've got my back. I would walk into a foxhole with these guys and know that I'm protected, and so showing that to my son and showing that lifestyle and how that works, it's just been this whole vintage motocross is a medium for me to help raise my child. And that's where it ends.
Well, this has been an amazing time for me. I'm so glad that you accepted the challenge to come here and be a guest on my show. I've learned a lot. I've learned an awful lot.
Thank you.
And you're a hell of a guy, man.
Thank you.
You're a hell of a guy.
I appreciate that.
I think we could be famous friends.
Oh, we could put a band together and do other things.
See, I'm kind of going that way with this. Because I love to play, man. I absolutely love to play, and I just haven't had too much opportunity to do that around here. I sling a guitar a little bit. I learned guitar and keyboards along the way, but I'm primarily a drummer. But I like to tell people, as a guitar player, I'm a really good drummer.
Well, as a drummer, I'm all right on the guitar.
I know all the cowboy chords.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way. And I can get out there and play some tunes, and I do have some fun with that. And for you local people, come down to Bryson City Brewing some Sunday night on open mic night. We go down and we have a ball. We have a great time down there. So I want to thank you for showing me around the van, and that was a great experience. And I know you've got a lot more stuff coming up. And again, I'd love to get Tammy in here and talk to her. Maybe get the two of you together.
That'd be awesome.
We can do that. We can have you we set up an extra microphone and do that. We can do that. But again, I really, really want to thank you so much for coming down here and doing this. It's absolutely wonderful.
100%
Fantastic.
my pleasure to be here.
All right.
Thank you again, Stan.
Yeah, you bet. And thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you.
It is the Stan Show. We try to do one episode a week. We got 2 this week because the wonderful Jerry Mattox came in here. And stay tuned because we're going to play some videos after the podcast. It'd be a part of the podcast that like your music video from night or from your solo career, some other stuff, some great racing footage. Thank you all for watching from me and from Jerry.
Thank you.
I appreciate you all very, very much. We'll see you next time.